Greetings and welcome to Newsm TV. I am Makanaka Masenyama. Stories making the headlines. Chamisa calls for demonstration next week. Zimbabwe strikes electricity deal with South Africa. Chassis heads off Mozambique. And business. Government to audit companies that have benefited from tax rebates. In sports, Zimbabwe's symbols continue to rise on global rankings. News in greater detail. Losing presidential candidate and opposition MDC leader Nelson Chamisa has called for a nationwide demonstration against deteriorating economic conditions in Zimbabwe. Since losing last year's presidential elections, Chamisa has threatened to make the country ungovernable, but seems to have been developing cold feet even after being given a fresh mandate to lead the party at a congress in May this year. MDC Organizing Secretary Amos Chibaya on August 5 wrote to police giving notice of the party's intention to lead the demonstrations in accordance with Section 56 of the country's constitution. Chibaya listed 12 grievances, among them corruption and shortages of power and fuel, as well as the general rise in the cost of living as reasons for the protest action. Zimbabwe has finally struck a deal with South Africa for fresh electricity supplies, Information Minister Monica Mutsvangwa has said. Mutsvangwa was speaking at a post-cabinet media briefing on Tuesday. According to Mutsvangwa, Zimbabwe will receive 400 megawatts from South Africa's power producer Eskom on condition that ZESA pays $890,000 to service an existing debt that stands at just under $30 million.
Cabinet was informed by the Minister of Energy and Power Development that an arrangement to unlock the supply of 400 megawatts has been concluded with Eskom. In terms of this arrangement, government through Treasury has commenced the payment of an amount of $890,000 per week towards the settlement of its debt to Eskom.
Meanwhile, Energy Minister Fortune Chase will be heading to Mozambique for negotiations on possible supplies from Zimbabwe's eastern neighbor. Water levels at Kariba Dam have reached critical levels, and authorities could be forced to switch off the hydropower station's turbines and stop power generation for the first time since the establishment of the country's biggest inland man-made lake. Zimbabwe Power Company Business Performance Manager Bernard Chizengenya told journalists on Monday that unless the dam receives fresh inflows, the possibility of shutting down is high.
Currently, we are on 478. So we are 3 meters, right? Below, above the minimum level. Now, if we keep on generating where we are, by end of, look, I don't want to scale, by September, we'll actually shut down the Kariba complex, and there will not be power coming from there. So we need to manage that.
Zimbabwe is facing its worst power crisis, with government blaming a crippling drought that has resulted in massive loss of water at Kariba. However, critics have argued authorities have also allowed the situation at Wange to deteriorate with obsolete equipment, forcing some of the units to shut down. The Zimbabwe AntiCorruption Commission is engaging local universities to train investigators in cybercrime, an official has revealed. Anti-Corruption Commissioner Thandiwe Mhlobane said unlike the previous establishment at the Anti-Graft Fighting Unit, the new commission is better equipped in terms of human resources and expertise.
You will find that this corruption comes in very sophisticated ways, and sometimes it's not so obvious because the perpetrators of corruption do not want people to see what they are doing, and therefore sometimes it's not so obvious as you look at it. So we are planning on having our investigators trained even in cyber crime, how to investigate cyber crime, and also how to appreciate even crimes such as money laundering. So we are in communication with the local universities to be able to train our investigators.
The Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission is currently dealing with over 200 cases, with the most high-profile being the arrest of Tourism Minister Priska Mfumira and Director in President Emmerson Mnangagwa's office, Douglas Tapfuma, on charges of abuse of office, as well as a litany of other corruption-related charges. Mfumira and Tapfuma are currently in remand prison awaiting trial. In other news, President Emmerson Mnangagwa has declared the hunger situation in Zimbabwe a state of disaster in a bid to unlock international assistance. Information Minister Monica Mchonga told a post-cabinet media briefing on Tuesday that local government minister July Moyo had briefed cabinet on the issue.
President E.D. Mnangagwa today will declare a state of national disaster in regard to the El Nino-induced drought, which adversely affected the country's agricultural production and food security in the 2018-2019 agricultural season. The declaration paves way for the launch of the country's appeal for drought relief assistance and the associated resilience building support by the international community.
Authorities recently revealed that at least 6 million Zimbabweans are facing starvation, with the government having begun giving food rations to citizens in towns and cities. Government blames the critical food situation to an El Nino-induced drought, as well as tropical storm cyclone Idai that hit the southeast of the country earlier this year. In business, government will begin an audit of all companies that have benefited from its tax rebates to ascertain whether the benefits have resulted in job creation and overall economic growth, Finance Minister Mthuli Ncube has said. Ncube told a post-mid-term fiscal policy review breakfast meeting on Monday that many companies have benefited from the tax holidays, hence the need for an evaluation for its impact. According to the finance minister, from 2009 to 2011, goods under duty rebate had a total value of $539 million, resulting in the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority foregoing up to $158 million in potential revenue. Some of the companies which benefited include Dairy Board, Associated Newspapers Zimbabwe, Fidelity Printers, and Madzone Textiles that has since shut down. We end with sports. Zimbabwe continue to make significant strides on the World Rugby rankings, with the Sabres moving a further 2 places on the latest global standings from 35th to 33rd, following their hard-fought 30-29 triumph over Kenya in a Victoria Cup fixture played at Hartsfield Rugby Ground on Saturday. The victory over the Kenyans, who remain in position 32, was the Sabres' third in as many matches in 4-nation Victoria Cup competition. Zimbabwe are now the 4th best-ranked Africa side behind South Africa, number 4, Namibia, number 23, and Kenya, number 32, but can overtake the latter if they manage to secure another victory when the 2 sides face off in the reserve fixture in Nairobi later this month. Reporting for newszimbabwe.com, I am Makanaka Masenyama. For this and more stories, visit our website www.newszimbabwe.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel, News and TV.